Remember back before Keeping Up with the Kardashians was a thing? Yeah, neither do we at this point. The Kardashians have built a veritable empire on social media, and it seems as though there's nothing this famous family can't accomplish. But how did all this begin? Many people will be quick to point out to the infamously scandalous tape between Kim Kardashian and Ray J, but the truth extends far beyond that shocking scene. The Kardashians' rise to fame and the way they maintain their empire has been no accident, and we'll let you know how it happened. Kim Kardashian. Let's start out by talking about Kim Kardashian. She may not be the oldest of the Kardashian siblings, that honor belongs to Kourtney, but she was the first one to make a name for herself and become famous.
So what else are you doing? I don't know.
Today, many people look at Kim Kardashian and dream of being as famous as her. But it wasn't that long ago when Kim herself was envious of celebrities and dreamed of achieving that type of fame. Her beginnings were pretty humble before her meteoric rise to success. One day, Kim was visiting her godparents, Sugar Ray Leonard and his wife Bernadette. She couldn't resist taking a peek inside of Bernadette's massive closet and realized that it was overflowing with clothing and accessories. Kim knew it could use a major overhaul, and she stayed up all night helping Bernadette go through her belongings and organize everything.
Things are like living in this closet. Look at this thing's moving.
Kim realized that there were likely many other celebrities who had this same issue, and this could be her way of making connections. While now Kim has her own massive wardrobe, back then Kim was stuck cleaning up after other celebrities. She would organize their closets and sell unwanted items on eBay. Kim also opened up her own shop called Dash along with her sisters Khloe and Kourtney. It was while she was working on her closet cleaning business that she made the acquaintance of socialite Paris Hilton. It's honestly been quite some time since the name Paris Hilton elicited much of a response, but there was a period of time when she was a real big deal. She had her own reality show, The Simple Life, and it seemed as though she and her best gal pal Nicole Richie were absolutely everywhere. Kim managed to get in good with Paris, despite still technically being her employee. But the two pals did have a ton of fun together. During an episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, Kim revealed she and Paris had once stayed out all night partying in Ibiza before passing out on some rafts floating in the ocean. Scandalous celebrity videos pop up every so often, but the infamous one starring Paris Hilton was a huge deal and catapulted her into the spotlight. Kim was friends with Paris throughout this whole ordeal and saw what the tape did to make her famous. And then, all of a sudden, another tape surfaced starring Kim Kardashian and Ray J. Not only was this big news, but Kim alleged the tape had been stolen from her and she did not want it released. The whole thing was a real media circus, and of course the tape ended up getting released. According to Vivid Entertainment, who distributed the video, they had Kim's permission from the get-go and couldn't have proceeded without it. So essentially, Kim leaked her own tape and then tried to pretend she didn't, all in an effort to get some fame.
You know there are people who say that you put it out yourself. You know that.
And needless to say, it worked. Although she admits she didn't truly understand the ramifications of releasing such a video,
I think in a lot of things in life, you never think this could happen to me.
There's no denying it made Kim famous. Now, the interesting part here is that Kim managed to not only stay famous, but become an even bigger star. Meanwhile, Paris Hilton is a name we hardly ever hear anymore. So how did Kim manage to maintain her superstardom, while Paris faded into the background? A big part of this is because Kim diversified. Paris spent her time in the spotlight playing dumb and declaring things hot, but Kim had bigger plans and she had a ton of help. She and her momager Kris Jenner wanted to do a reality show involving their entire family. Considering how big Keeping Up with the Kardashians is now, it might surprise you to learn that Kim assumed it wouldn't last. She was hoping to drum up some more publicity in order to get into the world of fashion, but her reality show was meant to be temporary. As we all know, the show is still going strong, and calling it a massive success would be an understatement. It was so huge that season 2 aired less than 6 months after the first because people simply couldn't wait to see more of the Kardashians. Although it seemed as though Kim could have any man she wanted, there was someone pining for her, even though she just considered him a friend. According to Kanye West, he was smitten with Kim the first time he spotted a photo of her and Paris Hilton. Although at the time he couldn't pronounce her last name correctly and asked his friends if they had heard about Kim Kardashian. In 2010, Kanye made his first appearance on one of Kim's reality shows, although he was fairly quiet about it. Kim called him a good friend and said she respected his taste in style and fashion. While Kanye West was seemingly stuck in the friend zone, Kim Kardashian was dating yet another athlete, basketball player Kris Humphries. According to Kim, when she turned 30 years old, she began to panic. She desperately wanted children and a family and felt that her time was running out. Kanye claims this relationship inspired him to finally get a cell phone in order to text Kim about the situation.
Kim loves being in love with love and has often talked about how she wants her life to turn out.
He went along with the whole thing because he was in love with Kim and genuinely believed she wanted to marry him. However, the whole thing right from the proposal was heavily scripted, and Kim admitted she knew on her honeymoon that she had made a massive mistake. Unsurprisingly, her marriage to Kris didn't last, and she filed for divorce a mere 72 days after marriage. Kris Humphries was furious about the whole thing, claiming that Kim and her family had cooked up this whole thing as a publicity stunt.
For me, it's just certain things happen in life and you got to move forward. So.
Regardless, it did serve to generate even more publicity for Kim and her family, and it gave Kanye hope that he and Kim would end up together. He even mentioned her by name in the song Cold, singing, "And I'll admit I fell in love with Kim," around the same time she had fell in love with him. Shortly after, Kim and Kanye began dating, although they kept their relationship private at first. Now it was time for Kim to be the one getting her closet organized. Under the orders of Kanye, she was forced to decimate her old wardrobe as he dictated what types of things she should be wearing. Kim admits she cried when forced to part with a particularly beloved pair of shoes, but claims that she's thankful for Kanye's intervention. Soon, the two announced that they were excited to be expecting a baby. This was huge news, but there was a surprising source of stress on Kim. She was still legally married to Kris Humphries. He had been trying to get their marriage annulled, so he refused to sign divorce papers. Kim was worried she might still be legally married when she gave birth to her child. Pregnancy was rough for Kim, as so much of her self-esteem and career had been built up around her appearance. In addition, she had some complications in the form of placenta accreta and preeclampsia, but thankfully, baby Northwest was born completely healthy. With their child safely with them and Kim finally divorced, the pair got engaged after an over-the-top proposal by Kanye. He rented out the AT&T baseball stadium in San Francisco and surprised Kim in front of all of her family and friends. And naturally, these two had a completely glamorous and obscenely expensive wedding. As we all know, Kim also welcomed 2 more children to the family, Saint and Chicago. But it was far from easy. While pregnant with Saint, she had the same health issues that plagued her during her first pregnancy. Although she admits not enjoying being pregnant, this wasn't the reason she chose to use a gestational carrier for Chicago.
Do you not know we're having another baby?
Not really.
Her pregnancies were just too high a risk at that point, and for the safety of both Kim and the baby, she had to use a different method. According to Kim, using gestational carrier was much more difficult than a traditional pregnancy because she had to relinquish so much control. Kim claims that Kanye has taught her to be more reserved and to enjoy the small amount of time she spends out of the spotlight. And Kanye says Kim has taught him how to open up more, and together they are able to be their best. But this doesn't mean there has never been any trouble in paradise between these two. In 2016, Kanye was struggling with an opiate addiction, which occurred after he'd gotten liposuction done.
2 days I got off of opioids, I'm in the hospital.
He admitted he felt an immense pressure to look good, which had prompted the procedure. That same year, his wife, Kim, was the victim of an armed robbery while in Paris.
2 guys holding another guy down.
Although she was unharmed physically, she was emotionally shaken up and was left having panic attacks.
The guy came in, grabbed the phone from me, threw me on the bed.
Kanye felt guilt over not being able to protect his wife, and this combined with his own issues led him to having a breakdown. Recently, in 2018, Kanye has been making some seemingly erratic statements. This has led many fans to believe he may be heading towards another breakdown or suffering some mental health problems. Kim continues to stand by his side and does everything she can to keep her family together. Kourtney Kardashian. Now let's take a moment to talk about the eldest of the Kardashian siblings, Kourtney Kardashian. Growing up, Kourtney claims she always felt distant from her mother, Kris Jenner. She was very close to her father, Robert Kardashian, and was devastated at his untimely passing.
She obviously just doesn't care.
According to Kourtney, she felt as though Kris was too focused on her own life and her new marriage to pay attention to her grieving daughter.
Just want to tell you I'm proud of you because I've never seen anybody so strong.
This came up on recent episodes of Keeping Up with the Kardashians after poor Kourtney finally got some much-needed therapy.
My therapist
just said this will start to happen.
She ended up talking about this issue at length with her mother, who was very receptive to Kourtney's feelings. She admitted that she needed to step up and try to work on their relationship more. While her sister Kim couldn't get enough of the spotlight, Kourtney took much more time to get used to it.
No effort necessary.
She was the last holdout when it came to signing up for Keeping Up with the Kardashians, but Kris refused to go through with the show unless everyone was on board. Kourtney felt pressured into it and admits she often broke down crying while they were filming the first season. She would frequently duck into the bathroom, the only room in the house without cameras, and try to cry quietly so as not to be overheard.
They party at my house when I said no.
But thankfully, she eventually got comfortable with the cameras and even allowed them to film the births of her first 2 children.
How did you even know I was home?
I have my sources.
We've definitely seen Kourtney change a lot since she first showed up on Keeping Up with the Kardashians. And in addition to meeting Kourtney on the show, we were also introduced to her partner, Scott Disick. The two had met at a house party thrown by Girls Gone Wild creator Joe Francis. Not exactly what we would call a meet cute, but things seemed to work out well for them, at least for a while. Many fans of Keeping Up with the Kardashians love Scott's wry sense of humor and the fact that he wasn't shy about making fun of the Kardashians.
How do you expect me to ever sleep with you again?
But sadly, on season 2, Kourtney found out that Scott had been cheating on her after finding text messages in his phone.
Don't act like that's a crazy thing. You did it the entire trip in Paris.
The two split up, but we soon found them hooking up again on an episode of the spin-off show Kourtney and Kim Take Miami. However, Kourtney had forgotten to take her birth control pill and wound up becoming pregnant.
You know, you keep popping these kids out like Tic Tacs. I mean, we're gonna have a whole family to raise.
While this may have been a disaster for some, Kourtney was thrilled and even lamented that her pregnancy was going by way too fast. But sadly, when little Mason was only 8 months old, his parents had their worst fight yet. Kourtney came home to find that Scott had been drinking, smoking, and partying all night. During their fight, Scott lost his temper, punching a mirror and requiring surgery on his injured hand. Kourtney refused to go to the hospital with him, claiming that she was fed up with his bad behavior. But these two just couldn't stay away from one another, and Kourtney was soon pregnant with her daughter Penelope. While Kris Jenner often tried to force Kourtney and Scott to marry, the couple said they were happy with the status quo and had no desire to get married.
I just feel like we should do this like the right way.
Despite having a third child reign together, the relationship between Scott and Kourtney was tumultuous at best. Scott claimed that Kourtney only seemed to love him when he was being bad, and that if he treated her too nicely, she had no interest in him.
Every time I become too good of a person,
No,
she stops loving me.
Eventually, in 2015, Kourtney ended things with Scott for good. Scott went to rehab and Kourtney moved on, dating her first serious boyfriend since meeting Scott, Younes Benjama. However, for the first time in a long time, Kourtney and Scott were getting along great as co-parents to their children.
We are just co-parenting. No, but she's like, you know, the only person I've ever loved in my life, so.
Now, both Kourtney and Scott seem to be casually dating other people and have found healthy boundaries between one another. While she's been known to make exceptions for special occasions, Kourtney definitely takes her health and that of her children very seriously.
We have kids,
We
it's
always
not.
would.
But it's a scary thing for me.
Kourtney's first priority is definitely her 3 children, and she knows that being with Scott romantically isn't necessarily the best thing for them. Now that her relationship with Scott is finally under control, it seems as though Kourtney is focusing on repairing her relationships with her family members. Although the Kardashian siblings love one another, they have fallen into some destructive dynamics. Kourtney believes that Kim and Khloe don't listen to her or treat her with respect.
Business that you were passionate about, then you would know what it takes to run a business, but you don't.
Her new therapist has given her some tools to help her stand up for herself and set healthy boundaries, but her sisters are unsurprisingly resistant to this change. Khloe Kardashian. The Kardashian siblings are lucky in many ways, but one of them has been particularly unlucky in love. Khloe Kardashian admits that there were many times when she felt like the black sheep of the family. For years, she struggled with her weight and says she felt like the fat sibling whenever she would go out in public with her family. In 2007, she made headlines in a negative way when she was arrested for driving under the influence. Khloe was a popular character on Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and many fans wanted to see her succeed.
Wow, look at that bud.
In 2009, she fell in love with basketball player Lamar Odom and married him just a single month later. The two were crazy in love, but looking back, Khloe admits this was also just plain crazy. Still, Khloe tried to desperately make her marriage work, but Lamar did everything he could to tear it apart.
That's not what I said. You took it the wrong way.
She agreed to doing a spin-off show called Khloe and Lamar because her husband desperately wanted to. On the outside, she tried to put on a happy face for her family and fans, but inside she was suffering. Years later, she would admit that she knew her husband was cheating on her, but felt too humiliated to say anything about it. Lamar was arrested for driving under the influence, and it became clear that alcohol was far from his only issue. Finally, Khloe realized she couldn't take this anymore and filed for divorce. Shortly after, Lamar was found unconscious at a brothel after suffering kidney failure and several strokes. Despite their pending divorce, Khloe dropped everything to be by his side. Although she didn't want to rekindle their relationship, she couldn't in good conscience leave him during this time. The couple ultimately divorced, and reportedly, Lamar is working on his sobriety. He claims to regret the way he treated Khloe during their marriage and says he still has feelings for her today. Khloe was meant to undergo fertility treatments, but she later confessed that she only pretended to. She knew her marriage was struggling and it wasn't the right time to have a child. Which is perhaps why we were all so surprised to learn that she was pregnant with her new boyfriend, Tristan Thompson. Shortly before hooking up with Khloe, Tristan had been with Jordan Craig, who was pregnant with his son. The timing of his breakup with Jordan and hookup with Khloe was suspicious, and caused many to wonder if he had cheated on his pregnant girlfriend with Khloe. If that's true, then it makes it less surprising that Tristan was then caught cheating on Khloe while she was pregnant. The story was all over the news, and even Kris Jenner couldn't keep it quiet. Kim admitted on the Ellen DeGeneres show that she was furious at Tristan for hurting Khloe.
So, how did you think you're gonna hide Tristan from me?
But Khloe was determined to stay with Tristan. Things are awkward between Tristan and Khloe's family to say the least, but they're trying to put it behind them for the sake of their beautiful daughter, True. Poor Khloe had always wanted to be a mother, but her pregnancy was marred with some pretty unfortunate circumstances. Not only did her boyfriend cheat on her while she was at her most vulnerable, but she wasn't able to announce her pregnancy on her own timeline. Her younger sister Kylie Jenner was also pregnant and due shortly before Khloe. But Kylie chose to keep her pregnancy a secret, meaning that Khloe didn't want to step on her toes or steal her spotlight. Khloe wanted to announce her pregnancy after Kylie, but it looked as though that might not happen. Fortunately, Kylie gave her the go-ahead so Khloe could finally celebrate her pregnancy. According to Khloe and Kylie, being able to experience pregnancy together was truly amazing. While Khloe has always been on hand to welcome her nieces and nephews, she admits this birth was particularly difficult to observe because of her own pregnancy. While she was happy to meet baby Stormi, she could have gone without the sneak preview of her own daughter's birth. Kylie Jenner. Although the Kardashian family isn't exactly known for their discretion, Kylie Jenner managed to stay secluded for her entire pregnancy. She claimed that she's lived her entire life in front of the cameras and she wanted to experience her pregnancy in privacy. Honestly, it's impressive how quiet she managed to keep things. Kim exclaimed that Kylie must have really good friends in order for absolutely nothing to have slipped. She also called Kylie's pregnancy the best kept secret of this generation. Maybe a little grandiose, but still impressive. We watched Kylie Jenner grow up on Keeping Up with the Kardashians and knew she was always self-conscious about her lips. When she suddenly showed up with full plump lips overnight, it didn't take a rocket scientist to know something was amiss.
Your lips look amazing.
Really?
Yeah.
Kendall said they were too big yesterday.
However, Kylie adamantly refused to admit she had any work done and insisted she was just really good at using lipstick. Although most fans didn't believe her, this didn't stop them from purchasing her lip kits when she launched her own beauty business. Now, the members of the Kardashian family have no shortages of side businesses. Her makeup company is how Kylie finally began to stand out from the rest of her family and establish her own niche in the entertainment industry. While attending the Coachella Music Festival, she met Travis Scott and the two immediately fell for one another. The only problem was that Travis was on tour and their time together would have to be brief. But Kylie refused to accept this and decided to just hop on the tour bus and ride off into the sunset with her new man. In a way, this really helped them get off on the right foot, despite being a huge risk. The two were able to stay relatively low-key as they traveled around and got to know each other without being inundated with fans and the press. Soon, Kylie found out she was pregnant and started keeping her relationship quiet, in addition to her pregnancy. But now that baby Stormi is here, it's clear that Kylie and Travis are going strong. Travis has even taken Kylie and Stormi along with him on tour so the family can spend more time together. Kylie admits that she was worried Stormi would inherit her lips and was relieved to see her daughter's lips look fuller than her own. But Travis is a huge fan of Kylie's natural beauty. Between Travis and Stormi, Kylie made the big decision to go natural and ditch her lip fillers. Not only is Kylie known for her beauty, but her makeup business has made her a billionaire. We'll refrain from commenting on the self-made part. Kylie has always talked about wanting a big family and having kids while she's rather young. It seems like she's living her dream, and we expect things to just keep getting better for her. While there's no doubt Kylie has accomplished a lot in her young life, she admits that she doesn't think she could ever be a fashion model. That's more suitable for her sister Kendall Jenner. Like Kylie, Kendall also grew up on Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and as a kid expressed that she hoped to work with animals someday. She named a horse jockey or a veterinarian as possible career options, but somehow we couldn't see her doing either of those things. Despite this, she still loves animals and is always fawning over them on social media and television. It turns out that Kourtney isn't the only member of the family who took some time to get used to being on Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Kendall admits to being rather shy, and not just by the standards of the rest of her family. When she was younger, Kendall would cry alone in her bedroom because she was jealous that her sister Kylie had so many more friends. It's always been a challenge for Kendall to express herself, and she admits to being apprehensive at best when it comes to meeting new people. This was always a problem for her, but it's only been magnified now thanks to both her personal success and thanks to her families. In addition to being shy, she's also more laid back than the rest of her siblings.
You always say I want to experience things, but I don't think you actually want to experience things.
And when she's not modeling high fashion, she likes to keep it casual. When she was growing up, Kendall admitted that she suffered from acne and low self-esteem, just like many other teenagers. Surprisingly, stepping in front of the camera and becoming a model helped her feel more confident about herself. Many people claim that Kendall is only such a popular model because of her famous family, but her road to success has not been easy. At one point, Kendall found herself being stalked by a fan named Siobhan Mackenzie, and she had several scary run-ins with him. At one point, he camped out near her condo in West LA before stalking her over the course of 15 months.
In the gate?
In the gate, right behind my car.
When testifying against him in court, Kendall claimed that she had never been more terrified in her entire life.
He's at my window banging on my window screaming at me.
Although she was granted a restraining order in this case, Siobhan was eventually acquitted by a judge. The judge pointed out that Siobhan suffered from mental health issues and posed no real risk to Kendall. Whether that's true or not, we can only imagine how scary this experience was for Kendall.
That's scary.
Yep.
And it's not as though Kendall needs the added stress in her life. She admits that she struggles substantially with anxiety, and at times it can be overwhelming. Kendall also has to deal with sleep paralysis, which can be a frightening and frustrating experience.
Your mind wakes up, but your body's still asleep.
According to Kris Jenner, Kendall's anxiety sometimes makes it difficult for her to fly on airplanes, which can really hinder her modeling career. To outsiders, it can seem like being famous is the solution to all your life's problems, but there are some things which no amount of fame or money can help. Although Kendall's fame undeniably gives her opportunities, it also holds her back in some ways. She's reportedly had a tough time making friends with her fellow models. In addition to being just plain shy, Kendall also requires additional security and is sometimes perceived to get special privileges. With all of this in mind, it isn't too surprising that some of her fellow models feel resentful of her. And then there's the time when she talked about being super selective when it comes to work. She added that she could never do the 30-plus fashion show per season that her peers do. This rubbed a ton of models the wrong way, who were quick to point out that they often appear in 70 to 80 shows per year, not 30. They pointed out that most of them can't afford to be picky because they don't come from extremely wealthy families. According to Kylie, her quote was taken out of context and she meant no disrespect to her fellow models. Although Kylie counts some models among her very best friends, it's clear that not everyone is enamored with Kendall Jenner.
Why? No one needs anything. Everybody's beautiful.
Kris Jenner.
Hi, you've reached the office of Kris Jenner, Kim Kardashian's former manager.
When it comes to this famous family, there's no doubt that matriarch Kris Jenner is due credit for much of their success. Her tenacity is absolutely legendary, and it seems as though she will do absolutely anything to keep her family in the spotlight and keep those checks coming in.
I think you guys have to stay united and realize that anything that either one of you does builds the whole Kardashian brand.
But other than that, how much do you really know about Kris Jenner? Although we know it's hard to believe, she did have a life before appearing on Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Although her life now is glamorous, her childhood was far from it. This was difficult to deal with, but it inspired Kris to treat her own children with nothing but love and respect, and make their home feel like a safe place for them. She also had a brush with cancer at 8 years old and was forced to undergo surgery to remove the tumor. During the 11th season of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, Kris and Kim, Khloe and Kourtney tested to find out if there were chances of developing cancer.
The BRCA test will tell you if you have a genetic susceptibility to getting breast cancer.
Luckily, the girls all emerged with a clean bill of health, but we don't blame Kris for being worried. It's not too crazy to think that going without for so long inspired Kris Jenner to make money whenever possible as an adult. She used to work in a donut shop and at her grandmother's candle business. Kris claims she learned a lot about running a business and keeping customers happy during this time. She dreamed of someday running her own business, and it's safe to say she's achieved that dream and then some. She met her future husband Robert Kardashian when she was 17 years old and actually cheated on her boyfriend at the time with him. Robert was 12 years her senior, but Kris fell in love fast, and the two were soon married. During this time, Kris was working as a flight attendant, and the couple struggled to find time for one another. She got pregnant on their honeymoon, and both she and Robert agreed that they wanted a big family. But after having 4 children, Kris felt stifled in a marriage with the man she described as controlling. She began to date soccer player Todd Waterman and wasn't exactly discreet about her affair. Soon, Robert found out and the two divorced. Just a few weeks later, Kris ended up on a blind date with Bruce Jenner, who she would marry 5 months later. But despite having 2 children with Bruce, Kris admits she made a huge mistake in stepping out on Robert. While Kim Kardashian gets the credit for being the first big star in the family, we think Kris Jenner definitely deserves a shout out here. While Kim deserves some credit, Kris has been the driving force behind this family for quite some time.
For real, changing my last name back to Kardashian.
Kris acknowledges that she's had some great ideas in her day, but says the reason her family has been so successful is because they work so hard. Lots of people want to be famous, but the Kardashians have proved that they're willing to do whatever it takes to maintain their fame. Caitlyn Jenner.
Bruce always had to tell a lie.
Fans of Keeping Up with the Kardashians were surprised when Bruce Jenner announced the show I Am Kate, which would be about her transition. There is some discrepancy here about how much her family knew prior to the show. Caitlyn claims it was something Kris was aware of from the start, but Kris vehemently denies this.
Could have been handled in the most amazing, loving way.
Khloe was always close with her stepfather and claims she had no idea what was going on until she was called into a business meeting for I Am Kate.
We don't care if you want to transition. We want to support you and be there for you.
Kim says that once she caught her stepfather wearing women's clothing, and they both just kind of never talked about the awkward incident ever again. According to Caitlyn, she had been aware of her gender identity since she was a child, but felt as though she couldn't be truly herself.
I never thought, that someday I'd be able to do this.
She married a woman who helped her save up money to achieve her dream of competing in the Olympic Games. Caitlyn claimed she had started to open up to her wife about her interest in women's clothing, and it put a terrible strain on their marriage, which caused them to split up. Although she would continue to date, her gender identity caused an issue in every relationship. Kris and Caitlyn ended up divorcing, and sadly things got bad between the two. Caitlyn clearly felt abandoned by her family, while her family members felt betrayed by her statements about Kris Jenner.
But the Kardashian side, honestly, I really don't talk to them very often.
It's sad because this family was once very close, and now it seems it's been irreparably fractured.
Absolutely. But you did good. I was proud of you.
Rob Kardashian. Now let's take a moment to talk about the most secluded member of the family, Rob Kardashian. He struggled with no shortage of health concerns, including type 2 diabetes.
I think that you could really benefit from talking to somebody.
In addition, he's battled depression, which has caused him to gain and lose large amounts of weight over the years.
You can't expect me to just be like, oh, let's all hang out and everything's cool and fine. It's not that easy.
It's clear that he's very loved by his family members, but Kris Jenner often struggles with the line between enabling and supporting him. When Kanye West got liposuction, he specifically mentioned people's treatment of Rob Kardashian and the way he has been ridiculed on social media because of his weight. And Rob's love life sadly hasn't been much more cheerful. He was involved in a romantic relationship with Blac Chyna, but they made Kourtney Kardashian and Scott Disick look like relationship goals.
Who's this hitting your phone over and over?
I don't know. What does the name say?
There was constant fighting and the allegation that Blac Chyna was just using Rob in order to become more famous.
If you feel like you're being rushed into it.
Things even got taken to court after Rob crossed a serious line. He posted graphic content about Blac Chyna on social media, in addition to some derogatory words.
Accusing me of doing when you're the one actually texting females, Rob.
She retaliated by not only suing him, but dragging Kris Jenner and Kim Kardashian into it as well. She claimed that Kris and Kim were responsible for getting the reality show Rob and Chyna canceled before the second season. According to some emails allegedly from Kylie and Kris, the family didn't want to shed any more light on the unhealthy relationship between these two. But one good thing did come out of this relationship, and that is Rob's daughter, Dream. Reportedly, he's just focused on keeping his head down and being a good father to his daughter right now. While he occasionally shows up alongside of his family, for now he's staying firmly out of the spotlight. After learning about the various backstories of the members of the Kardashian family, has this given you any new insight into their lives? Have you gained new respect for someone you didn't think much of before? Or will you never be able to look at someone the same way again? Let us know what you think in the comment section below, and then take a moment to click on the subscribe button to get more great videos from the Taco.